up, Tube You? Hey, this is kind of a funny video because Saunetter, he summoned a devil on live YouTube. And let me first say, so I don't get flagged by people who might be kind of snowflakish, not only do I not like the term white devil, I don't like using the devil in serious context. Because even if such a thing exists, we do things that are worse than it. Uh, the devil, I'm talking about the Abrahamic devil, but also I might bring up the Dungeons and Dragons devil. The Dungeons and Dragons devil is different. It's like a species in that are up against the demons. Where in the Abrahamic, the devil is like the ex-angel, and he has demons on his team. This devil that Saunetter summoned had traits of both. But the reason why I don't like going into it is, one, I don't believe in it. I don't like to take things to that spooky level because you can always blame everything on the devil, and then basically what you're doing is you're just saying, I'm not thinking. I'm just going to say the devil, the devil, the devil, God, the devil, and that's what happened. And I don't have any agency. I don't have any control of anything. It's just determinism. I think that's the word Asari Imhotep used. I hadn't heard that word. I had to look that up. It's just, and it becomes escapism too. So I don't like using it. To the extent that I would use it, I would say there are multiracial devils. But this specifically, that Saunetter summoned, he summoned a white devil. He flat out summoned a white devil. And I'm going to tell you how he summoned them in a minute. Okay, I'm back. I'm recording this while I'm cooking. Excuse me. So I might have to run and go back and leave and all that. So though these are the breaks. Let me just explain why or how he summoned this devil. And this is difficult to explain. And I want to first, before I explain it, I want to say that I'm a fan of Saunetter. He's had plenty serious topics on his channel, but I'm also a critic, and I try to be a constructive critic. I believe that me being, I think I was blocked or banned from this live broadcast that he had. And I think that was part of the ritual that summoned the demon, is blocking me. So I feel good now. I want to hype myself up because I think I was definitely part of the ritual to some degree, at least. He had to just start purging anybody that was speaking reason, because the show that he had, and I'll call it a show, it was just such a waste of time. And he had Dr. York talking about the shape of the planet. And I'm like, talking about the earth is round. I'm like, nigga, we know that. Are you entertaining this flat earth nonsense? This is the type of stuff I'm saying. I'm like, hey, Dr. York, you right. We know the earth is round. Let's get on to something important. And he's still going on about, the earth being round. And I'm like, really? So somebody else was saying the same thing in the chat. It was like, man, Saunetter, you an agent for having this bullshit. And I laughed and I said, LOL, Saw Earther, the agent, because I don't think he's an agent, because he has real topics. He has real his last topic before this was real, and I have a hard litmus for what a real topic is. So he has real topics. He churns business. It's just, I'm gonna call it like it is. He summoned a demon, well, a devil. He summoned a devil. Let me be specific. It was a devil, not a demon. And so first he has to ban reason. So that right there, when you start banning reason and what comes with reason, the reason why I want him to York Jr. not to waste his time on this bullshit is because I'm kind of mixed on Dr. York Jr. I think he's a combination of a person who is a fool. I've heard him say some things that are extremely foolish. When that gets pointed out, that a lot of his doctrine is based on foolishness, he gets emotional. And when really there are other times when he's humble. So it's hard to gauge, and I'm thinking what he needs is to basically not be so isolated, but also he knows a lot of the Nuwapian teaching is bullshit. So update it. Get some serious people, because he'll then jump into super pseudo stuff, and it's stuff that he should know is fake. Like, it's stuff that he should know isn't real. And that's where I see that lack of judgment that I saw from young Pharaoh in 2016, because I pointed that out in 2016. That young Pharaoh was he was either dumb because he didn't know the stuff was fake, or he was ready to manipulate people because he knew that they didn't know or didn't care. And these are the type of energies that Sa Neter is siphoning when he's dealing with flat Earth, because the flat Earth argument is not based on being able to discern information, figuring it out. Because if you do that, you know the Earth is round. The proof out there is that the Earth is round on a number of levels. Now, I could get into that, and I will when we get to the devil part, because I'm going to play it. But for the most part, it's playing to this ignorance in the face of all this seriousness. I think this is completely below Sa Neter. But to do this, to put on this magic trick where you summon the white devil, he had to get dirty. He had to have a topic that is as wanton guttural as I could ever think of. All the important things that we have to deal with, and we're having a fake debate, because you can crush the debate, and I'll show how in a minute, to the point where it's like, okay, this is why I believe the Earth is round. This is my evidence. I'm standing on it. Okay? That's all you'd have to do. And then you say, okay, believe what you want to believe. Okay? We're not going to argue about this. We have important things as adults. That is what Sa Neter could have done. But instead, he's using all of these negative vibrations, appealing to ignorance, and you're going to see how later it appeals to pride. And whatever, I don't know what tribe Sa Neter is from. He's African American. He's got a lot of African in him. I think he has some Jamaican in him, so he may be some Akan. But so I'll say whatever Akan magic he pulled in the background to summon this devil, is it worth it? I think you're above this, Sa Neter. And really, why? I got issues too with Dr. York Jr. And I'll show you one in a minute, because what you're going to see is how this devil was attracted to Dr. York. He sees the weakness. Dr. York concedes. He says, well, and I'll show him saying it in a minute. He'll say, okay, let's say the images of NASA are fake. You don't concede that, because the images of the Earth from space point out a white supremacist lie. And I don't hear these round earthers saying this. And maybe it's because a lot of the African-centered round earthers go into the sciences instead of going into the common sense. Because the white supremacists lie, if you can see this, just look this up. Look up maps of the world and notice how Africa is always shrunk in some maps. And then you can just look up, actually Google Africa size world map or Africa shrink world map, and you'll see how when you take a round image and you make it flat, you have to distort it one way or another. What the popular maps do is they distort it in a way that cheats Africa of its size. But when you look at Africa from space, it's huge. So Dr. York has this African centered argument for a round Earth that points out a white supremacist lie. And when I say white supremacist, I realize it could have gone either way. And considering the power structure, I don't expect them to have given true Africa. But the thing is, they erred on the side of you can look at it from space and Africa is huge. You look at it on the map and you'll see maps where Africa is barely larger than the United States, when really the United States fits in North Africa. The United States is about the size of the Sahara Desert plus some, especially if you add Alaska, but I'm talking mainland. So he concedes this stuff instead of standing on it. And the devil sees the weakness and it pounces. And you're going to see these traits in a moment, but let me show you how he concedes this.
Away from that point, and now look at the surrounding factors that could also debunk the same theory. So, okay, let's give him the benefit of the doubt that NASA's pictures is fake and that they're using, what is it they call it, a fish eye? They're using fish eye camera technology, etc. We can deal with the simple fact of night and day. The science of night and day is proof that the Earth is spherical. And the reason why is because if the Earth was flat, there would be no such thing as nighttime. See, in order, the sun would simply shift.
All right, hold on. Don't be so quick. Break that down. When you say if the Earth was flat, there'd be no such thing as nighttime. What do you mean? Break it down. We want to go break down bar for bar. So go ahead, brother.
You see what I mean? That's the type of wanton nonsense that it takes to summon a devil. Bar for bar about you're having a grown man teach you about day and night. That is a ritual of wanton, lustful ignorance. And when I say wanton, lustful ignorance, what I mean by this is you have to be so perverse to care so little about the next generation that you would throw your mind into the shape of the earth and do so by saying, let's disregard all the picture evidence. Huh? I mean, that's that, and then talk about day and night. That is insane. I mean, like, let's, and then he says that NASA I think with the fisheye lens, he was talking about when people use balloons, but NASA, their pictures are just one of about 6 space programs. Even if now I roll it back. I say, instead of saying, well, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, as he says, that all of the space programs are making fake pictures. Let's give them the benefit of that. And there's also other countries that don't have space programs that are like assistant programs. So they'll have astronauts, and you have astronauts from other countries that come to NASA and all that. Now, I wouldn't go and say that they all would be fake. To me, that's crazy. That's a crazy conspiracy. NASA alone is a crazy conspiracy. That is a crazy conspiracy. And instead of talking about how we have crazy conspiracy theorists and why they're crazy conspiracy theorists, he wants to, and this is where pride comes in, show his knowledge about sciences. So, and the science he picks is day and night. We can Wikipedia day and fucking night. You know what I mean? Besides, if somebody's going to believe that crazy conspiracy, then they can come up with some bullshit to explain day and night anyway. So I'm going to get to how all of this wanton ignorance, all of this, and because if your mind is that perverse, where else does it go? If this is what you're thinking about, where else does it go? That carelessness, that evil energy, and again, I'm a fan of Sonetta, but he does toil in some evil energies. Right here is an example of that. This is some evil energies. So I'm going to show you what this evil energy produced in a moment. Let me show one more example of the fear and the pride that attracted this demon. I'm just going to play this. It should speak for itself, except for I'm going to give the context and say that before the first call, which ends up being Jabari, York Jr. was talking about Jabari's position and then arguing against it. Jabari calls in to clarify it. And you're just going to hear how he runs from the question, completely runs from the encounter in a way that attracted this devil, I should say. I think I called demon, but in this case, this is a very devilish person that ends up calling. But let me just first show you the first call, which is Jabari, and I'm going to play the whole thing and Jabari's exchange afterwards.
Calling from?
This is Jabari Osaze.
We got my brother Jabari Osaze in the building. And fix your mic, brother Prince.
I think I just want to quickly say.
Go ahead, brother Jabari.
Follow, brother. But I think I just want to quickly say that I think that Prince has misunderstood what I was saying yesterday.
Fix your mic. Fix your mic, Prince.
Anyone that listens to what I said when I was online with our dear brother yesterday, and what I said in my debate with Prince York, would clearly understand that. Why would I be teaching from what Prince York said? I don't understand why he would even believe that. I teach a college level class on ancient Kemet and a college level class on ancient Nubia. Prince York didn't bring me information for my class. I did mention Napata being sacked, but Napata was sacked in the 4th century CE. Prince York has described Napata as a pre-dynastic city. That's what I challenged him on. So the time frame I think he's confused about. I didn't say that Napata didn't exist. I want him to perhaps talk to us about the information, the actual sources that he can bring that describe Napata's pre-dynastic heritage.
Look at you.
As I said previously, I'll say it like this: I take it as supreme and direct disrespect for me to clearly say on live TV that I'm not interested in having a conversation, debate, or discussion with Brother Jabari, and I gave the reasons why. So I'm not at this time taking any questions from him. I'm taking the questions from the public. If the public would like me to answer his question, I'll answer his question when he's no longer on the line, because I'm not interested in a debate, conversation, or discussion with Brother Jabari because of his childish and immature manners. So that's all I'm saying on the topic. This is my interview on Sinetta TV, and I'm sure Sinetta will respect that.
All right, I got you. Hey, Jabari, we could do another show sometime, but we want to respect the young brother.
Can I say this, Son? It's not even for the point of an argument, per se. I want to be really clear that I have done nothing but show our young brother, Prince York, respect and honor. And even coming into the chat room today, as you can see, I wasn't here to counter his information, to disagree with him. I want to allow this brother his opportunity to grow and to evolve and to become the brother he's supposed to be. It's hard to do that in public. So while he has venom for me, I want to be clear that while I disagree with the information he's put forth, I have no venom for him.
And I believe you, and I know you do, and I know you're right.
Because That's what he put forward to me. But I just want him to hear that he is still my brother, even though I disagreed with what he did. And that I hope that he comes with information and he becomes the teacher that he should become in the future.
All right. Thank you, my brother Jabari. Appreciate you. All right, family. Let's get these callers
All right,
in.
Sinetta, now to answer the brother's question.
Nah, you ain't got to answer. You ain't got to answer it, brother. Let's just move forward.
It's a good question though about Potter. In the debate.
Hold on. No. Let's get the question. Let's get the callers in. He got to call in.
So that's the example right there. There are other examples. I'm gonna jump forward and get to the devil summoning. Enter the devil. If you want to, you can look up this video and see the other examples. I don't know if I would advise you to do that. So, enter devil.
Peace and Black Power, family. What's your name and where you calling from?
How you doing, sir? I'm calling from Southern Arizona. My name online is MG42 Pillbox, and my channel is Blood Always Finds Its Level. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Oh, we good. What's happening, man? Talk to us. You got any questions on your mind?
Nothing much, sir. Nothing much. It's good to hear you brothers do your thing out there. I will be honest with you and frank. I am Caucasian as far as appearance.
I know you are. I know you are.
You can tell. I know the first thing you can tell is that my voice is not a white boy. I know.
Yes.
But real quick, I would like to ask my question, because I know I'm supposed to ask a question here.
This is why I don't use the term Caucasian. There are melanated people who are quote unquote Caucasian in appearance. This is some shit that a racist who maybe reformed himself afterwards, Blumenbach, created recently. Notice he calls himself Caucasian, and instead of responding, look, we don't really mess with that word. It was created by a racist. We know you as people who have albino pigment genes, the same pigment genes that are found in albinos all across nature. So, but if you want to be called white, but this whole Caucasian thing, if you look up where that was created, how it was used, I don't understand why people use it. That's one of the things I tell Soli Dolo. Don't use that term. That enters you into their frame. And it's a false frame. Now this guy, if you notice, he kind of has the gab when it comes to talking to people classified as black. That is the mark of the devil. The devil will come in the form of something that well, put it like this. The difference between the devil in Dungeons and Dragons and the demon in Dungeons and Dragons, the devil may be more related to Abrahamic tradition, as they take a lot of their stuff from different mythologies, blah, blah, blah. Now, the devil, they're basically fighting demons over the power of hell. The demons are just that staunch evil. They're that loped up evil. If they can eat children, they would eat them. They're just like that. They'll do anything. They will do any manner of cruelty. Demons are above that, except for on Friday nights on a special occasion. They're like, I'm evil. But for the most part, they would rather convince you to do the dirty work for you. So they're very charismatic. They know how to speak to you. They study you. Why the hell else is this albino, classified as white, watching Sa Neter? He is studying his victims and he is looking to pounce. He spotted one in York Jr. And watch how he pounces on him.
Is what form of evidence do we have for adaptation? Now, before I get an answer, I want you to know that I am a scientist. And first of all, I'm going to make two claims. Hold on. My claims are there is not only no evolution, because there is no evolution, period, ever. There is biological normal reproduction. There is cultural evolution. Over time, we can change our culture and our speech, the English language, has changed literally 25 times in the past 1,000 years.
Now, hold on, real quick. What is your name? What is your name again?
My name is MG42 Pillbox Online, and my channel is Blood Always Finds Its Level.
Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna get somebody to deal with you, man. But go ahead.
Hold on, 1 second. Now watch this. No, first of all, as a scientist, there is no such thing as evolution. It is a great deception. The other thing, since it says flat Earth on the Hangout, I wanted to mention to you that yes, the Earth is flat, and that's the easy part. Sir. Yes, the Earth is for the Africans. My
hold on, brother Prince.
African
No
well.
laughing. Be professional, brother. Let's go.
Right. My ancestors were black as well, and I follow the Hebrew and African history, and that's where I get my information from. But as far as what I can empirically and observe and test and prove, the Earth is flat. I was also in the Army as a 19 kilo. I shot targets over 5 miles away with an M1 Abrams tank, so you can't fool me. I've already worked for the White Devils. I know them very well.
Do you know most black people work for the White Devils too, if you're going to call all white people but you devils, which is kind of interesting. That was the first sign that I was dealing with a white devil, because the main thing they'll like to do, the demons, they would never call a white person a devil. White demons would never call a white person a devil, but a white devil would, and just like this dude just did. And that's what I mean. He's different than the demonic white, the white supremacists that absolutely hate black people, Jews, gypsies. They seem to be okay with Asian women as long as they aren't hitting them for child support. So that's pretty much it. I mean, that was such ridiculous logic. I shot a tank a bunch of miles and I worked for the White Devil. I worked for the White Devil. Who hasn't? You know what I'm saying? And then it gets worse when you'll see in a minute. But this dude is a flat earther who believes the earth is 6,000 years old. It's really, and he calls himself a scientist. Really? Because I'm hearing this and I'm thinking he could be bullshit, and that's why he was deceptive for me. Where I was like, did this fool, now he's saying and the only reason why I watched this, because when I got banned from the chat, I said, I don't want to hear this shit. I'm not listening. And then I got a notification. Soli Dolo did a video talking about this Caucasian, and that's one thing I want to say I don't like about Soli Dolo. I would consider him probably one of the few Black Power strategists out there who's coming with solutions. So I like Soli Dolo, but if there's one message you could send to him, don't use the word Caucasian. It's ridiculous, because like I've said before, it was created recently by a racist, and part of the reason it was created, because it was used by Carlton Coon, was to claim ancient Egypt, because they would see some statues with some narrow noses. They didn't have too many statues with thin lips. They created some. They were just straight up lied about the lips. But they'd see some narrow nose statues, and they would go to different parts of Africa where they would see tribes that have different nose shapes, and narrow would be included. And it could be deep in the tropics, dealing with Tutsis. It could be in North Africa. It could be in West Africa, dealing with the Fulani. And they would use these colorism tactics to divide and conquer by saying, hey, you're a Caucasian like me, and you they enter you into that Hamitic theory. And the Hamitic theory, in short, was they couldn't explain how old Africans were culturally, because you would see, like, damn, you got neck rings over in Africa, they got bowls in the lips over in Africa, they got all this stuff that we find elsewhere. All of it starts off in Africa. Like I recently discovered that what's that thing where the divers were using? Cupping. Cupping comes from Africa, Inner Africa. It was in ancient Egypt, like in pre-dynastic times. Cupping. Look up horn cupping. You'll see Africans in the middle, like in the parts where it's thick with forests, they do it. That's ancient African technology, and that stuff is all over the place, right? So their theory was then that to make the whole thing work with the Noah's Ark, which doesn't work for whole other reasons, but the theory was that these other Africans were like the extra people that existed at the time of Adam and Eve, but they were outside of the new human thing. And they died off in the flood, but they were like those extra people that died off in the flood. They weren't part of the lineage of Noah. Only the Hamitic people are part of the lineage of Noah. And the Hamitic people are Caucasians. Complete and utter nonsense. Don't talk in their frame. Break the frame. The reality is, race is a creation. It was created to divide resources. One of the main ways, as it applies to you, that it was created to divide resources was by skin color. Skin color is governed by pigment genes. Mutations in genes cause these symptoms of albinism. You can look up the symptoms of albinism, and it basically describes the white race. Red hair, light skin that tans, light skin that doesn't tan, freckles, blonde hair, brown hair, green eyes, blue eyes. Everything. That's why if somebody has like no eye color at all, but their parents had blue eyes, they would call them an albino. But if you got two melanated people and they have a blue-eyed child, that's an albino. The reality is they have mutations in the same pigment genes. Same location in the pigment genes. The only difference is the different mutations, but almost all mutations are different if you look at it on the grand scale. So mutations they happen. And that's one of the reasons why the guy really has no argument for that whole adaptation argument doesn't work. Is mutations happen. We can see mutations happening. You'll have people that'll be born with webbed feet. So it's not a stretch to say, okay, if a bunch of people, actually, there's a tribe in Asia that can hold their breath hella long because they've been doing it for a while. So somebody has a mutation in the last 500 years where they have extra lung capacity. Then they become the best diver, right? They can get down like that. Then they pass that on to the point where down there all of them have it. That's evolution. Evolution is constant because we're constantly mutating. And when things are favorable, or they don't even have to be favorable, they just have to be not a factor in sexual selection. It can be unfavorable. Hell, it can be unfavorable in sexual selection if it also helps survival. So it's a combination of both. And that's evolution. That's adaptation. It's randomness in the sense that mutations might occur more frequently when there's radiation or whatever, but they're always happening. Nobody disagrees with that. Even the white devil that called in. So let me get back to it.
Much more than probably most black people will ever know. And yes, the black community is absolutely right about the evil of the white devils. It is absolutely true. I know from firsthand account because I was part of them. The earth is flat. That's the easy part. It's called a great deception for a reason, gentlemen. It's not to be messed with. It is a great deception. We were all deceived. And my ancestors were black too. And guess what? Dinosaurs always existed with man. They were called dragons. And the Africans knew about these creatures. And yes, the earth is only 6,000 years old. Period. End of story. Now watch.
Hold on. And you call yourself a scientist, man? But you call yourself a scientist, and you said the earth is only 6,000 years old, man?
Yes, because I understand radiometric dating. Do you understand radiometric
All right,
dating,
but
sir?
you know what? I want to invite you on the Scholars Corner show tonight. I would love to invite you on there. I took their number. I got your number down. And
You got my
we
number,
would like,
sir. Thank you.
yes, we would like to bring you on to Scholar's Corner.
Absolutely. Yeah, the age of the earth was the old ages of the earth were invented by two people. One was named James Hutton. The other gentleman's name wasn't really a gentleman, another white devil, of course. His name was Charles Lyell. This was years before Darwin ever came into the playing field, right? But James Hutton wrote in his book, I'm going to free the people of Moses. And you probably know that Moses was a black man as well. And that's what this world hates. They hate the truth of the Bible, and they hate the truth of our ancestors. And there were no white people in the Bible. And that's why white people are greatly deceived. They have absolutely no idea of their history, period. End of story. Now watch this.
Around this time in the cause, when I started to see that Sa Neter had essentially summoned the white devil, who came from the depths of hell among other white devils and started shitting on the other white devils. And all it is, it's like anything else. It's like Satan in the Garden of Eden. I'm going to tell you what I think you want to hear because I've sensed that you are weak. So I'm going to tell you that you are the stars from the Bible. Moses was black. And if I can get you, if I can butter you up to that, I can then get you to go along with the age of the earth being a plot from white devils. Because I've sensed the weakness on you. I know that you're weak. And I'm just going to talk about some carbon dating. This dude, I don't know if he knows anything about carbon dating. So he's going to come with the conspiracy and dinosaurs are dragons. I played Dungeons and Dragons. I know what dragons look like. I used to be, when I was a kid, I used to love dinosaurs. I know how many different dinosaurs there are. Different kinds of dinosaurs. So I could see through this butter up bullshit. At this point I was thinking, but why? And he'll get to why in a moment. And it really is, it's truly disgusting. Because a lot of these people, you know what? I'll let it play and then I'll get into the why.
My question is, give me one example of genetic or biological adaptation. Good luck and take your time.
All right. Brother Prince, let's get it.
Yo, first and foremost, I have to say, I'm just shocked right now about what's happening. I don't know if the crowd is, but my eyes is. Before I get into the question, I just want to I would like to analyze the caller in which we're talking to, because you stated that the earth is only 6,000 years old. You stated that you are a Hebrew scientist, and you stated that you served in everything you're saying is just like blatant contradiction. I don't understand how a scientist, meaning the one who studies the studies of physicality or the studies of life, how a scientist could believe that the earth is 6,000 years old. I would say the Caucasian race is 6,000 years old. The earth being 6,000 years old is kind of like bullocks to me. And I'm like, my brain is having some difficulties comprehending. Like, yo, Sa, are you hearing this right now?
Brother, I'm hearing it, and guess what? We're gonna. I'm hearing it.
And watch this. You also can't answer the question, so take your time.
Oh, damn.
I can answer the question, but I'd actually honestly rather ask you some questions.
Yeah, let me just come out and say it. A lot of people will take that whole belief that they are the Jews from the Bible and that they're going to inherit some ancient kingdom to the grave. Now, this caller will not do anything for the children who are deceived, who have escapist parents who were deceived, and the children who are then deprived. This cultist flame fanning doesn't end well because it's completely outside of Black Power's meta. He's taking Black people out of thinking power into magical thinking. That the earth is 6,000 years old, flat, and we are the descendants of Moses. When I can look at Egyptian history, and not only do I not find Moses, I don't find Moses in Egyptian history, I find the things that were appropriated from Egypt to create a Moses story. So that's one thing. Another thing he's doing that's deceptive and just totally dishonest is he's creating a frame with that question. That question that adaptation doesn't exist. I don't know that it does exist. I do know that things mutate. They mutate frequently, and that certain mutations are selectable because of either sexual selection, even if they're not favorable. Like white skin in most environments is not favorable for sexual selection. But I've theorized, and I'm not the only person to say this, that white skin becomes sexually selective when it's more of a product of having sort of borderline genes, where you got high yellow in one person, and then you have another person who has green eyes, maybe dark skin. So you kind of got genes that are borderline in the sense that they're not deeply melanated, they're not white, and once those exotic features become sexually selectable, you have a population that is just another wave of mutations away from being white people. Or a population that could be mixing with a pure population, a new population of albinos, white people, which you see in Panama right now. White people are just popping up. Now in Panama, it's crazy. It's not as likely to stick because of the weather, but it's happening. So, and if you look in ancient Libya, you had white people in ancient Libya before a lot of the major invasions. Ancient Egyptians depicted ancient Libyans, not always. If you go farther back, they were kind of brown. Then they become very light brown, close enough to pass as white. So this whole thing with adaptation doesn't happen. I don't know that it does happen, but it doesn't matter. See, what he's doing is it only works. What he's saying only works if the Earth is 6,000 years. So it's circular reasoning. The Earth is 6,000 years old because adaptation doesn't exist. Well, if the Earth was older, then you'd have time for adaptation to exist. So I could say the Earth is old, therefore adaptation exists. It's both circular reasoning because neither proves or doesn't prove itself. You could look into the fossil records, you could look into genetics, you can look into other branches of sciences, and that substantiates adaptation. Through, and like I said, I don't know that adaptation exists, but I know that things change, and then we could look over and say that these changes were types of adaptations. But just does adaptation just say, hey, I'm a gene sitting in some living organic creature's body, I'm going to change because the air is thin, so I need stronger lung capacity or something like that. No, what happens is things mutate. And you may be in an area where that mutation is more favorable. That'll be sexual selection. And like I said, it's a combination of sexual selection and environmental factors. But you see what I mean? He's or I should say the devil is creating a frame where neither two things that he hasn't proven or demonstrated or made a good argument for are dependent on each other existing for the argument for the question he's asking to be relevant. Otherwise, it's an irrelevant question because if you have change, if you have mutations, you will have adaptation if you have time for it.
Due to the things that you stated.
No, but I'd love to answer your question, sir, but you've been...
After I answer your question.
And no, the white people are not the white people have only been around for maybe 2,000 years old, sir. Not even...
I would strongly disagree.
6,000. Right, because you've been deceived. That's the point. I'm here to help you.
Deceived by whom?
Damn.
So, white devils, you've been deceived. You're a victim. You believe in television as your educational source, sir. It's not true. I'm sorry. And there is no such thing as adaptation. That's why you're still stalling and you can't give me an example. The black man already has the capability to take the energy from the sun better than the white person. They don't develop that ability because they didn't have it in the first place.
At this point, I knew York Jr. was going to be in a little bit of trouble with this devil. I said, oh my God, man, Sa Neter summoned a devil and sicked it. He's all grunting and hyping up the devil. I'm like, Sa, man. And the reason why I knew is because you got York Jr. on some dumbass, the Caucasian race was 2,000 years. Fool, the Caucasian was created 200 years ago. No, he said 6,000. And then the dumbass devil dude comes in and says, if anything, white people are 2,000 years old. I'm like, look, let me tell y'all, plain and simple. White skin has always existed because we've always had mutations which produce the occasional albino. Now, the white race, as far as a whole bunch of albinos jumping off, is older than 2,000 years, I'd say, because you see it in Africa like 1,500 years, 1,500 BC in Libya, like I was just talking about. So I knew York Jr. was going to be in a little bit of trouble with this devil. I'll let it play.
You either already have the ability or you die because you didn't have the ability. If you are not already able to survive in the environment. Go ahead.
Everybody hold on. Don't hang up. Hold on. Damn, this is crazy right here. He going in. We need brothers that can deal with this type of subject. See, when they come on, y'all can't be afraid. Y'all want scholarship? I'm surprised Garfield ass ain't call in. Huh? Hey, are you listening?
Yeah, working. Hello?
Are you listening,
I'm listening, man.
All right, I'm bringing you in the call.
I'll give you 10.
All right, hold on, sir. Hold on, sir. I have the Amon Ra Squad on the line, and I would like for you to ask that question. Again, ask the question again.
No problem. The question is, in genetics,
this is
biology,
a Caucasian. This is a Caucasian scientist.
Come on, man. I can hear it.
Right. Technically, yes. My skin is very pale. Yes. So the question is,
scientists or not? But go ahead.
In biology or in genetics, where is their adaptation in all of life? Take your time.
What are you talking about? What do you mean where is it? It's called mutations. That's what it is.
Mutations is not adaptation. Mutation is a genetic defect. It's called genetic entropy.
And I just want to say the devil is a liar. You have people who have abnormally large spleens because they have a culture of diving. They hold their breath. They can for longer than anybody can. They go deeper into the ocean than people can without getting overly pressurized. I can't go below 15 feet and I start to get a headache. And there are also people who have mutations, they call them throwback mutations, where they have webbed fingers and toes. You give these people who are developing the large spleens enough time, eventually one of them will have a throwback mutation which will give them large fingers and toes. And in doing that, in their environment, with their culture, they would probably pass that gene on with pride. They'd be happy to pass it. Give me the web. They might start importing people with webbed fingers and toes to hurry up and get that gene there. So it would stick with them. Now, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, you don't want webbed toes. You know, if you got to walk in the barefoot in the forest, that would be terrible. You don't want webbed toes. If you're in the city and kids are laughing at you, it might be hard for you to get at the females. You know, like a guy might want to suck toes. Imagine all the crust that gets in between somebody's feet. There's a female with webbed toes. That's not sexual selection in most instances. So the dude is wrong. Mutations can be favorable. They can stick. And if you were to come back 1,000,000 years, if this tribe was isolated, they won't be, because we're humans. We go all sorts of places. We got planes and cars and stuff. They won't be isolated. But if they were a more primitive animal that couldn't travel like that and they were isolated, then they could branch out sexually from whoever they were related to. And then you'd have a new species.
No, adaptation. I didn't say mutation. I said, where is the adaptation?
Hey, bro. I'm telling you, it's the mutation in the genes, right, that causes the adaptation. Nature activates.
Yeah, you've been brainwashed by the Discovery Channel, sir. I'm sorry, that's incorrect.
Okay, so nature's a bit
Prince, fix your mic, Prince. You gotta, hey, excuse me, you gotta let him talk.
So what school you been to? Hold on for a minute, son. What school you been to? What school you been to? Because I don't believe you're a scientist.
That's because you're of this world. You've been deceived. Of course, people that are possessed by the lies of this world can't believe in true science. You
notice whenever somebody starts talking some out of this world conspiracy nonsense, when it really gets crazy, because there are conspiracies, but I mean when it really gets crazy, you notice then they want to call you of this world. Yes, I am an of this world thinker. I am not in fantasy land. And this dude is in fantasy land, and he's trying to justify it with devil tactics to attack your enemy. And it doesn't really work on Ankh. So he throws out some logical fallacies. I'll play that.
don't even know what the word science means. Watch this. What's the word science mean? Watch this. Before you Google it, what's the word science mean? Let's see if you know what the word science means. Go ahead, take your time.
Check this out. This is what we do around here.
Okay, that's the first. So we're just going to keep ignoring my questions all day. By the way, I'm a teacher in real life, and all my students are black, by the way. I'm a teacher in real life, not on the internet. Go ahead.
I started suspecting that he was a white devil, but that right there gave it away. He jumped away from the question and then asked another question. He answered a question about, where did he go to school? Ankh just asked him, where did you go to school? Ankh didn't go to college. So a good answer for Ankh would have been, I'm self-taught. So he couldn't even give that. Instead, he asked him the definition of the word science, and that's what I mean about get desperate, logical fallacy. But what really hit me is when he said that his students are black. Those black students are sunken placed. And that's when I started getting pissed off. I'm like, this is the white devil in the flesh. His students, they aren't students. He's trying to get people to sell their soul. Because when you stop thinking and you just say everything's a conspiracy and I'm the players from the Bible, then you're not living in this world and you will be powerless in this world. The fake Jews, how much do they get in reparations compared to you? Reparations will be beneath you because you have a God and reparations are worldly. While the fake Jews, in which I think it's a choice in a religion, but the Jews the interloper Jews, the Zionists, if you will, if you come there with me, they've gotten about, last I looked, 800 billion and counting in reparations. But they're of this world, right? But you want us to be out of this world, powerless in this world. And you won't do anything from the children that are deprived by your students. And it's not like he's going to get his handful of sunken place Negroes to revolt on anything but us and critical thinking, as he's doing right now. That is about as devilish as you can get. That is institutionalized suffering.
You can't fake me out with that bullshit.
You don't even know what the word science means, sir. Sir, you don't even know what the word science means. What does the word science mean? I'll make these questions kindergarten level. What does the word science mean?
It means observation, bro. What are you talking about? We all know what it means.
That's what I'm saying.
You can't even answer the question.
Hold on, I don't even like your demeanor. Based off the fact that I was.
You shouldn't. You're of the world. Of course you wouldn't like my demeanor.
I'm going to end this conversation. Right? Absolutely. Out of your mind. And you're not a scientist.
So there's no adaptation. You don't even know what the word science means, bro.
Let me explain something. Let me explain.
Yeah, go ahead and Google it. Take your time.
Let me explain something.
No,
Brother
I don't even like the way you talk.
This is ridiculous. You don't like the way I talk. This is what I do in real life.
Do not call me Brother Unc. I'm not your brother. All right?
No, that's me. No, that's me. This is Prince.
Respectful. Oh, okay.
It's not okay for me to call you brother, right? Because of course I came from aliens or something, or what? Tell me how that works.
Yo, let me cook this fool real quick, yo, because I'm tired of hearing this shit.
Best shot.
Yo,
take your best
so check this out. Check this out.
So far, you've been ignoring every one of my questions. I just want to point that out to the audience. Go ahead.
Check this out. What you have to understand about genetics, right, is that
Pakistan. The problem with York Jr. is he doesn't stand on anything. His whole thing, I'm going to cook this fool. Why? You can't cook the devil. He's hot. He's so hot he don't even feel the heat. So the man's not hot. There's nothing you can say to him. You stand on, you know what I would have told him? I would have been like, hey, white devil, you're the one deceiving us. NASA is telling the truth. And I would have went back to that whole African thing. This is what I did. Look.
Hello, I'm Sunny Williams. I'm up here on the international.
Okay, so who is this woman floating around in fake space? Oh, she has a Wikipedia entry. Oh, who's our mama? Who put that in? Who did all this? Where's this coming from? Where is this staged at? Who created all this?
Constantly changes due to the environment it's surrounded by, and it is called a mutation, and it takes place in your chromosomes in 4 key
give me
parts.
One example.
I'm about to give you an example. Let me finish.
No,
Let me finish. There's 4 key parts of a chromosome called a G, T, C, and A, which is almost like a genetic Morse code where your genes and your genomes are actually communicating amongst each other and constantly perfecting and adapting to the environment around you. This is what causes your body to even be able to sweat when your body gets hot. So these are adaptations that happen on a daily basis. Now, in an extreme environment, this would be a genetic mutation where the same adaptations would change your entire body to fit the environment that you're in. For example, let's say we went to a planet where they had a higher amount.
We're going to go to another planet. You just left reality and went right to cartoon.
Hold on.
Talking about. I'm not as familiar with the way chromosomes work, but I mean, this is basically what happens when you have 2 out-of-this-world thinkers. And he has the nerve to talk shit about him going to another planet. You just said you were criticizing Ankh for being of this world. Now you have a problem with York Jr. going to another planet, as an example. He's thinking out of the box. He's not giving you mainstream science, which the dude shouldn't have a problem with. The devil, I should say. Shouldn't have a problem with if he really is a scientist. That's why I give Ankh credit. I mean, if Sonetter wants to summon devils, why sit there and chess box with devils? Ankh bounce. I don't blame him. So.
No. Give me an example in reality. Listen, sir, you're very young. You need to relax and give me an example. No. You need to stop lying to me. Don't tell me about other planets and your magical fairy tales. Give me an example in reality.
We're talking about
Give me an example in reality.
We're talking about mutation. How am I supposed to talk? How am I supposed to talk?
You don't understand what you're not giving me an example. It's been 10 minutes now. I've been on the call. 10 minutes and 59 seconds. You can't answer one question. That's why it's called the Great Deception. Where is an example of genetic adaptation in reality, not your cartoon television series?
Damn.
Okay, what you have to check out. What you have to check out is what I'm trying to explain to you. Because if you said another planet is cartoon land, yet NASA just spent $500 billion on trying to get the Mars.
Yes, and you believe the white devils. You believe it because it's on TV. You believe it.
Damn.
Please, you are a noob. You have to relax. Listen to how you've been so deceived. You can't even try to answer the question. Where in reality do animals and people adapt? Here's the reality, guys. I'll answer the question for you.
She finna to take a nap. Okay, who created the bed? Who designed the bed? Who designed the pillows? Who is her mama? Who's her man? Who's her dude? This is not a sustainable conspiracy. Because this is just NASA. There's other space programs.
It doesn't already have
and
the ability to survive. It dies. There is no adaptation. It's called genetic drift or genetic entropy, which is a loss of information.
I can explain.
Hold on. An example in real life, not your cartoon imagination. You are lying to children. Listen, this is a detriment and it's child abuse to tell children they'll adapt. No, listen to me. Give me one example. It's been 11 minutes, 12 minutes. One example in real life of genetic adaptation.
This is a show for Minister Inky, man. I got to call Minister Inky, man.
Hold on, Sanetta. I don't know how we're supposed to answer a question if every time I open my mouth, he starts talking.
You're talking about going to planets. When have you been to another planet, sir?
I have not been to another planet.
Exactly. So give me an example in reality, not fictional television that the white devil has shown you your whole life and raised you on cartoons, showing you that you came from monkeys. Show me in reality where genetics in biological forms can adapt to their environment.
You just mentioned genetic. You just mentioned how creatures can die. You talk about creatures that don't adapt. That happens, but that only happens to creatures that are forced due to extreme. That's extremist. Everything that you're saying is extremist. It's very pseudo. It's very
extreme. Yeah. No, you're right. No. Watch the polar bear. No, does the polar bear have to adapt to a cold environment?
Does a polar bear have to adapt to? Yes.
No, it already lives there, genius. Are you serious? It already lives in the cold environment. Are you serious? It does not have to adapt. It already has the ability. The Most High made creatures that already have the ability. A fish cannot adapt. If you take it out of the water and put it in the desert, it's going to die. It already has the ability, though, to live in water. Things do not adapt. They either are already good enough to survive or they die if they're not good enough, sir. Son, do you realize how they brainwashed you?
Damn.
I'm going to ask you one more time. It's been 14 and a half minutes. When in biology do we see creatures adapt?
This right here that I'm listening to is a beautiful tactic of over-talking and not allowing the person to question the things that you're saying. Every point that I would utilize, for example, you will automatically disagree with and try to destroy that theory.
You're talking about cartoons. Yes, I'm going to disagree with your cartoons.
In order to promote your own theory, you have to.
Yeah, this is real science. Yeah, I'm the first scientist you've ever talked to in your life.
Jabari, call in. Jabari, call in.
Hold on. You're the first cokehead that I've ever talked to in real life, right? Because with the things that you're saying that people are missing is the fact that you first started with the conversation with the Earth is 6,000 years old. We cannot have a conversation of evolution when we begin with that theory. We can't have a conversation about genetics when we begin with 6,000 years. So at that point, once you're finished, you know what I mean?
It took him a while to get there, but eventually he got there. Yeah. He saw through the bullshit. The 6,000 years wipes out evolution. So it's circular reasoning. Yeah. I agree with York there. Good point. He makes another good point later.
And whatever you're trying to do by promoting your own channel, I respect it. I got much love for you, bro. But the shit that you're talking about.
You got much love for him?
What? Huh? This motherfucker is processing Negroes into sunken places. Admitted to having all black students. I have nothing but hate for a devil of that magnitude. That's going to lobotomize people to where they can't think, they can't provide for the next generation. They become worthless. He's creating worthless, lobotomized Negroes, if he's telling the truth. Otherwise, he's trolling.
I got love for anybody who calls himself trying to teach anybody. I got love for any teacher, right? No matter what their nationality is. My thing is that I'm not going to...
Miseducation comes from teaching. Just teaching alone is not valuable. Him teaching black people this bullshit is not valuable. Him producing a new line of sunken place hucklebucks, not valuable.
Start your conversation by saying that you think the earth is 6,000 years old. We can't have a conversation of genetics when there's genetic markers that go, man, you have mitochondrial DNA that has 33 strands, and each strand alone has genetic information.
Now, let me
from
say
all
this
your
real
ancestors.
quick. Let me say this real quick. Family, what we have to do, and I'm not talking to Prince. I'm not talking to Unc. What we have to do is get out of our feelings, stop getting emotional. You have someone who calls himself a scientist. You have a European on the phone, and we can't, we got the show where we can mentally compete with these other people that come here and say that they're scientists. We can't get mad. We can't get emotional. We can't call names. Let's deal with the goddamn knowledge. That's what I want to deal with. Right now, I want to bring on Brother Jabari. Brother Jabari, we have a scientist on the line that would like to ask a question. Go ahead, Brother Jabari.
I got a question too. Where is this filmed? Who does the catering? Who programs the computers on this set? Who does all of this? What brand of toothpaste? Because when you really sit back and run the numbers and you look at the money, there's not enough money to pay people to keep this secret over hundreds of years, because there would be too many people involved. It would end up costing more money than NASA needs to actually launch it into space anyway. Because think about it. Stormy wants a few $100,000 from Trump. It ain't really even that much money. And here's the thing. She's using the bathroom on there. They looking for, that's where they pee. Here's the thing. I've done QA support, technical support, some programming for a GPS program, a GPS app. You can see the world as it is scanned from satellites. Go outside and test the measurements. Now, I've never done it because I haven't any reason. Nobody's made a good enough argument for me to question the shape of the Earth. Nobody's put forth really good flat Earth evidence. And I've given them a chance. I've listened to flat Earth videos. But I'm one person. I've uncovered conspiracies. And I laid it out. I laid it out in detail when it comes to how Homo sapiens didn't breed with Neanderthals, when it comes to the censoring of King Tut's ancestry test on Wikipedia. I put out all the evidence. So I have no problem catching the white devil in a lie. But you got to tell me more about this this conspiracy, because it's not sustainable. It's not tenable. And nobody can answer these questions. Nobody can tell me who her man is when she's talking to her own girls. Like nobody ever said, hey, NASA ain't about shit. Man, I studied to get to NASA, and now they want me to hold on to this secret about there being 19 continents beyond an ice wall. That is not... See, that's the thing that York should have stood on, and if he stood on that, sure, he can have some supplementary evidence for the Earth being round. But you got to just first start off with common sense and stand on it. He's not standing on common sense. So this devil dude that calls in sees that he doesn't have anything to stand on strong. And he goes in for the attack. Now, when Jabari gets in there, he's out. You know, because I ask people, I'm like, when they have doctors, astronauts will come back and they will have doctors who will go on shows and talk about muscle atrophy from being in space so long. So NASA has to pay the caterers, the programmers, because I didn't get paid shut up money. I had access to check the shape of the Earth as it is scanned from satellites, because I was looking at the back end of GPS technology on the app. I'm not getting paid shut up money. There's people who are much better at math than I am that would figure that out and would say, hey, I'm looking at raw data coming from a satellite and it is projecting a flat Earth, not a skewed Earth. Like, let me show you what happens with Africa. Hold on.
And then back to the solar arrays where we started this morning when we were looking out the Japanese window.
Africa from space is damn near half the planet. It's much larger when it's not skewed to fit a flat map. And I know that a lot of these pictures from space are conglomerate images, so the people say they're computer generated because they're off scans from a satellite and the satellite doesn't fly back far enough to take a picture of the whole Earth. Regardless, they're not taking a picture of how it would be skewed in favor of the actual size. They're taking a picture of the image that we were given to us. So, who created the exercise equipment? The secret exercise equipment. And who delivered it to the set? Not a sustainable conspiracy. Too many people involved that aren't getting paid enough money to keep a secret that they'd make a fortune off book deals. Just the attention alone, even if they lied. So what are they gonna do? Kill them? It's a safe thing to do. You can rat, but the thing is, this is real. This is a real space station. It's not a hoax. It's not a sustainable conspiracy. Understanding sustainable conspiracies is important. It's important to just being able to critically think. You know what I mean? Like, when you lose critical thinking, you'll be that fool waiting on some afterlife benefits while people are pretending to be what you think you are, getting hundreds of millions in reparations, while you are constantly the victim of human rights violations. You've been the victim in the past. But some albino, classified as white, can put on his white devil medallion, say a few hell vesiculas to whatever demon worshiping shit that they practice, and lie to you. He is the one lying. He is the white devil lying. This is not a lie. It's not a sustainable conspiracy. There are too many factors involved. People will sit there and talk about a goddamn harness. She's floating all over the ship or the station with her homeboy. I think that's the Russian side of it. So now the Russians, all these crazy ass Russians that infiltrate us, none of them are crazy enough to get that book deal and be wealthy. Not a sustainable conspiracy. It's just like the metanetter being deciphered. And it's verifiable too. So I could get into the verifiable science, but first we got to get to the common sense. You cannot concede common sense When you're not standing on common sense, it shows weakness, and that's what attracted the devil.
Now, I want to be clear that
fix your mic, Prince. Prince, fix your mic. Fix your mic.
I want for you to be clear that you have not asked me on here to ask the question, because while I disagree with what I've heard, much of what I've heard from our brother Prince, it is clear that he was attempting to answer, and the person on the line, the Tom who on the line, was not allowing him to answer.
Right.
So let me just do this really quickly. First of all, if you say the world is 6,000 years old, you cannot be a scientist.
Teach,
because what you've done is you are actually in violation of geology. You're in violation of human DNA. You're in a violation of the artifacts that we see. You're even in violation of a simple king's list from the Old Kingdom. The only way that you could get a world being 6,000 years old is if you look at the lineage in your and count backwards. That is not how scientists arrive at an understanding of the nature of the world. Now, let's be really clear. I am a priest. I take no issue with you being comfortable with your spiritual doctrine. But you have to understand that that doctrine is not trying to tell you about science. It's trying to tell you about the nature of things. These are not.
All right, Jabari, he ran off the phone. you made him run, Jabari. Yeah.
Because what he's saying is absolute foolishness.
Brother Jabari, you didn't get you were robbed of the opportunity to be able to speak.
You got to fix your mic, Prince.
York Jr. made one other point I agree with. Sonnetter was not moderating that properly. And Sonnetter tried to argue about it and about them being emotional. So people get emotional. You're appealing to emotions. You're appealing to stupidity, Sonnetter. Then you're going to roll it back and say they're supposed to be cool and calm in the presence of the devil that you summon. You know, both Jabari and York Jr. called him out on that. That was a poor demonstration. It may be entertaining, and Sonnetter has plenty relevant topics, especially lately. This was not one of them. There's just no reason to summon the white devil, and then not to point out the fact that you summoned the devil and the type of damage that this magical thinking causes. This type of thinking was more detrimental to black power throughout history than anything. This determinative bullshit that the gods will decide whatever, that you're just here to enjoy and have fun, and and then everything begins in the afterlife. Nonsense. That you are the players from the Bible, the white man is the devil, everything they say is deceptive, when in reality they will tell you a lot of truths, and you have to use your reasoning skills to see, because it's not a sustainable conspiracy. That right there tells you. You really don't have to go into anything else. Now, you could say that the true size of Africa is validated by images from space. That's easy. That's an easy argument. Very easy argument. Then because look, it's not just, like I said, it's not just NASA. If the Earth was flat, you would have every airport would be in on the conspiracy, because they all have the technology to fly to the end of the Earth, see the they people who are blocking the secret continents filled with rubies and milk and honey. The they people would shoot down their plane or whatever, and they would know about this. And I'm talking specifically about the people who have airports, which are everywhere. Every nation has an airport. Every nation has pilots that are capable of flying, and they have pilots that fly around the world. Contingent on the Earth being mapped as a round object. Even, like, it's always been mapped as that. It's only distorted when it's put on the 2D surface. And then you end up with the shrunken Africa. And then on the flip, you have the shrunken place Africa, or sunken place Africa, Africans, who are educated by white devils. I think this guy was telling the truth. And I don't know what the hell, and this is, again, the issue I have with York Jr. I don't think he's of good character. Because if he was of good character, he's not running from Jabari like that. He accused Jabari of something technical with Nakata, and Jabari had a good question for why he was not accurately portraying Jabari's stance when he argues against it. You can't make up something and argue against it. At least, hey, this is what I believe, this is what I asked you. And instead of confronting that, this dude plays the whole victim card because he says Jabari was immature with him. I watched their exchange. Jabari was not immature with him. It got tight because the guy has a pride issue. Again, that's what the devil tries to seize upon. And again, I don't like using the old term because the reality is the person is not a supernatural being of evil. He's just any old white supremacist whose tactics are more like the Dungeons and Dragons devil, which doesn't want to get dirty, doesn't want to go out there and lynch people, but would rather intellectually castrate them and allow them to lynch themselves in many ways. Mental slavery, the one area where I agree with Kanye West. You see a lot of mental slavery in that video, especially the part where where York Jr. said he loves the devil.